father figures, right? Terry, your dad, father figures. In some respects, you're being a father figure for the young man who played you. And this whole podcast came about because of the words unspoken between my father and I. And it was the practice of the paper and the pen and writing out kind of my trauma, really, not knowing subconsciously like you, like, oh man, this is how my relationship really was with my dad. I was actually running away from the complexity and the beauty and the trauma and everything else. But I was able to say things to my dad that I wasn't able to say when he was alive through the book. But with your Uncle Terry and your dad, is there anything that you want to tell him that you haven't through the film or anything else that's left unspoken?
Yeah, recently with my dad, this is something that was never said growing up, never said until recently. And even now, it's still, you have to push it. You have to push for it. But even just telling my dad, I love you. When I'm with him and I'm hanging out with him and he's leaving, he's getting in his car to leave. Love you, Dad. That, for me, is a huge step forward. And when he hears it, from me, I'm giving him the permission to say, I love you, son. And then it'll switch. One time I'll see him and he'll say, love you, Eric. And it hits. And it's like, love you, Dad. And we've started to create that exchange very recently, within the last 6 months.
Wow.
And that's beautiful,
I'm getting teary-eyed because I would tell my dad, I love you, Papa, right? But it was hard for him to reply back, And so much of men, we just hold it in because no one teaches us the language of love. And so when you receive it, especially from a son, it's hard to process, let alone like reply back, Yeah. And so I just want to say, man, that's a beautiful thing to like heal those cycles where you allowed the space for you not only to have the courage to tell your dad, hey, I love you, Dad, but him to feel vulnerable enough to reply back and say, I love you too, Eric. And then to say it first, that is profound.
And it's like pulling teeth.
I know, trust, it is.
You gotta generate that out of thin air because there's no energy towards it.
No.
It's not like, it's, you gotta create that. And so.
And what are your thoughts just like, why do you think it's so hard for us men just to be like, like I always say when I'm drunk with my brother or my friends, all of a sudden, I love you more. No, but I love you more. It's all just flowing, obviously. But why? What are your thoughts? Why is it so hard for us men to tell our fathers, let alone our friends or family, that we love them?
Man, that's a great question.
That's the question, right?
My experience with Cirque du Soleil, being on tour with these artists, I was one of 47 artists in our show.
Okay.
And I was one of 2 Americans in our show. Everybody else was European and Russian and Chinese and different cultures, 17 different languages spoken backstage. And they all embrace one another in different ways, different cultures. I got a chance to witness that and be a part of that and, be around the Russians who you can't really get much of a smile out of them a lot of times. They may even, tell you a joke, but they're still serious. Right. And that's just their cultural, being. When we were in Japan, we were performing and the Japanese, even as much as they love the performance, for them it's respectful. They don't want to clap because they're scared they're going to make you have a mistake on stage. So they're so respectful. And that's how they show their love and respect. In Spain, they're stomping their feet the whole show. And that's how they showed their love and their support. I think growing up the way I did with a father like mine and brothers like mine, I think we just showed it. It's there. it's deep in there, but we show it in different ways that doesn't always, it's not clear enough. It's not always felt, because the person, I think it's just the person doesn't know how to express it. And when you can express it, you just give so much permission to the other person. I was given so much permission on tour with Cirque du Soleil, being around these different cultures. You know, one of my best friends was Massimiliano Medini from Italy. Every time he saw me, you know, it was, hey, you know, big hug, da. You know, and I'd come home from tour and see my brothers and be like, and give them, and they're like, you know, like, you know, and I'm like grabbing the back of their neck, and it's like, what's going on? And I just realized that, you know, here it's different. I was raised different.
Yeah.
But I realized I had an opportunity to have that impact on my family about how to express love, how to show love. I think that generation before us just, right? Our fathers in that generation, their fathers, there was something there that didn't make them feel like they were able to express that.
Yeah, I mean, I always say my abuelo, my grandfather, came as a bracero farm worker. He came from Chihuahua, Mexico to actually Oxnard, where I was born, but he came in a cattle car and they sprayed him with DMT. And for all intents and purposes, he was like an indentured servant or a slave in Oxnard. They wouldn't let him out. He would work from beginning to end. So he was beat down. So any emotion, feeling. So therefore, my dad never heard the words, I love you, let alone a hug or anything else. Of course, my compassion for my father is like he's doing the best he can, given what was given to him. And then for our generation, it's like knowing this history, but also knowing that we can give ourselves permission to then give other people the space to consider being more emotionally expressive or more emotionally like vulnerable. That's where the medicine lies. And I feel like with you and the hoop dance, you're inviting us in to a ceremony that then these conversations can happen.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I mean, you just said it. Your brother wants to learn, and you know, millions of people have seen you hoop in some shape or form, whether it was on tour or whether it's the film or whether it was on TED Talk. But I guess that's kind of what one of my final questions really is. What do you hope people get from your film? But more than your film, Eric, like you, from like, you know what I mean? Like you, like I'm already learning so many things in my mind, but what's your message through your life and through the film?
You know, I hope that it just unguards people. And just, whenever I dance, I realize that, you know, the flashiness and the storytelling and the way that the hoops move and the story that I'm telling as I dance, people's hearts open up. And when I'm finished dancing, the words that I speak after the dance are received so much more than before I danced. Before I start dancing, you know, a lot of times the audience is kind of like, all right, what's this guy going to do, you know? Right. Then I dance and their hearts open. I hope that this film, and I hope that as I continue to share my dance, that it just creates that openness. It helps people drop their guard, let go of their ego, let go of, you know, worrying what, you know, people are thinking of them. And they're able to just feel. You know, as an artist, we just want to make people feel. And I hope that it does that.